Hello, this is Pastor Rick, and I want to welcome you to a very important series that we're going to show over the next couple weeks, where we take a look at Emmanuel's sanctuary and take a look at some of the liturgical and religious art that is in our sanctuary and helps us and encourages us in our worship. And we're doing this series over several weeks for two reasons. First of all, I want to point out the history behind this series. We first thought we would explain the religious art and the liturgical art in our sanctuary to new members. And when I mentioned that here at church, many of our established members said, well, why don't you do it for everyone? Because we'd like to know more about the art, the windows, the stained glass, the altars. We'd like to know more about the architecture of our sanctuary. And so about a year and a half ago, we did our first series in the sanctuary, where we invited people to come in and we walked around the sanctuary pointing out various windows and architectural features, and it was a big hit. And so we did it again, and the group got larger and encouraged us to put this on our website for not just new members again, but periodically for our own members to be enriched in understanding all the art that surrounds us each and every Sunday in worship. And so this is the result. This is the fruit of that request. But secondly, we have a real gem in our sanctuary with these beautiful pieces, because in essence our art and our architecture, they serve us each and every Sunday like preachers or teachers. We're surrounded by these art which encourages us and invites us into the biblical stories, invites us into this grand drama of salvation. And so the more we understand what they're preaching and what they're teaching, the more effective they can be. Each and every time we enter into the sanctuary, they call us and encourage us and teach us in our own worship of the Lord Jesus Christ. And so over the next several weeks, I hope that you'll join us for each part of this series about, again, Emmanuel's sanctuary, the liturgical and religious art. Please enjoy. Good morning. This is Pastor Rick. I want to welcome you to the Sunday Forum on this Sunday, January the 10th. We're going to start a four-part series here on the Sunday Forum to take a look at the art, the religious and liturgical art in our sanctuary. And I'm excited about this four-part series. On part one today, we're going to take a look at the altar, the cross, and our Emmanuel window. Part two, and next week, we'll take a look at our major windows that surround the sanctuary. Part three, we'll take a look at our 9 minor windows and the Reformation door. And then on our last series, part 4, we'll take a look at our kneelers that surround the altar. And so we want to begin by taking a look at the front of the sanctuary. And so join me as we come forward and take a look at what just dominates first impressions here at Emmanuel. And the first impressions are theological in nature as we look at the altar and we look at the cross. The altar comes right from Florida, right from the Gulf. It's made of oolite. It comes from the Gulf. There's only 3 places in the world where you can get this type of coral, and this place is one of them. And it's so big and massive, along with the baptismal font, that they had to come with cranes and put the altar in place before they actually built the roof over the sanctuary. And that's to represent that the cross of Christ and the sacrifice he made for us is solid, right? It can't be moved. It's dependable. And so this beautiful oolite altar has the cross of Christ above it. Again, the focus is on Jesus and his sacrifice for us. That's the gospel. And you'll notice if you take a close look at this cross, there's actually 2 crosses. The one inside is made of bronze and was the cross in the original sanctuary in Emmanuel, the first sanctuary. Now we've built this second sanctuary, and they took that original bronze cross and put it in the middle of a larger wooden cross, which matches the wood and the pews here in the sanctuary. So again, first impressions are sacrifice of Jesus and the cross, all that he did for us. Now notice the pews, just for a second, because when you come and sit in, notice how they've been structured, and that's so that wherever you sit in the sanctuary, you notice that they're kind of broken in the middle. Any place you sit in the sanctuary, you're facing the altar and the cross. You don't have to tilt, you don't have to turn your body. The focus is always up front on the cross, and that is theological in nature and very purposeful. Again, here the architecture is the preacher, is the teacher, helping us with our worship each and every Sunday morning. Now let's come up front and take a closer look at the Emmanuel window. Very appropriate since our name is Emmanuel. This is a window which tells the Christmas story of the birth of Jesus. And originally, when they built this sanctuary, this was a clear glass window, completely clear. Unfortunately, they quickly discovered here that the sun came in and just blinded everyone in the sanctuary. And so then they added this Emmanuel window. And we want to look at the very top to see how this window tells the story of the birth of Jesus. So if you go to the very top, you'll see the blue, because this is going to tell the story of when the angels appear to the shepherds and proclaim the birth of Jesus in Nazareth. So it starts at night, that blue at the top, and then you can probably see that star shining. The star shines and has this stream of light that goes right from the star all the way down to the manger, where you'll see the red Cairo in the manger. The Cairo are the first letters of the Greek name for Jesus Christ. It's basically the J and the C, the Cairo. But in between, you'll see the star is over Nazareth, but then the angels appear in that dark sky with their trumpets, singing their hosannas and their glorias. And so you see that bright, shining trumpets, and then the stream of light continues down to the shepherds, and the shepherds here are represented by the staff. You see the shepherd's staff, and then if you go below the staff, and this might be harder to see, they put three sheep heads there, which are very stylistic, so that you notice now the shepherds and the sheep then go and see the Christ child again, the Cairo. You see the wonderful halo around the Cairo that Christ is divine. It's a wonderful telling of the story. And then underneath, you see the three crowns representing the crowns of the three magi who came to see Jesus from the east. And again, that is what we celebrate on Epiphany. So once again, what a beautiful telling of the Christmas story, so that every time you walk into this sanctuary, you're focused in not just on the cross of Christ and his sacrifice for us, but you start right from the beginning with this wonderful story of Jesus, the Word made flesh, being born in a manger in Bethlehem. So I'm glad you could join us. We'll continue the story of the sanctuary and the liturgical art next week with the large windows that surround the whole sanctuary. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye now. Well, I hope you enjoyed the first part of our four-part series where we took a look at the altar, the cross, and the Emmanuel window here in our sanctuary. That was really quite special. And especially the Emmanuel window. That's our namesake, right? Our name is Emmanuel, God with us. And every time we say, I'm a member of Emmanuel, or I worshiped at Emmanuel, we go back to that story of Christmas, where the Christ child is born in a manger, where the shepherds come and worship after hearing the angels sing Gloria in the sky, and the three kings come 2 years later, on Epiphany, but also join in bringing gifts of the nations to the Christ child. That is all in that Emmanuel window, which sits right behind this cross. And I hope that you really enjoyed going more deeply into the story, because that's what the window does. It invites us into the story. Again, this window is a great preacher and a great teacher. Now, to help us with this series, we have a written document which describes each of our art pieces in the sanctuary. And some of you have asked, well, we liked the tour that you're giving, we like your explanations, but could we have something in writing? And the answer to that is yes. And so we're going to post this on our website. We're going to try to put it right next to the bulletin on our webpage, so that each and every time you worship, especially those who worship from home, and you go and you pull down the bulletin, well, every once in a while you might want to take this document as well, print it off at your home, and that way you can read through some of the explanations as I describe them in the sanctuary. Again, these art pieces are our preachers and teachers and our encouragers in worship. I hope that as we go through this series, God blesses you in your worship as we more deeply understand the art that surrounds us. Bye-bye now.